of the three practices have declined from 47% in 2016 to 41% in 2017. And there is also a high or significant difference between male-headed and female-headed households. On the case of our empirical strategy, in order to avoid self-selection bias, our study used what you call the endogenous switching regression system that involves two-stage estimation approach. In the first stage, we applied what you call the multivariate probability model in order to look the factors that influence farmers' choice for adoption. In the second step, we tried to look at the impact of the different combination of climate-smart agricultural practice on household nutrition by disaggregating between male and female-headed households. So basically what we did was to look at the adoption effect of climate-smart agricultural practice on the adopter, basically by looking at the expected nutritional outcome of adopting more number of practices against or the counterfactual of adopting of fewer number of practices. When looking at the gender gap, we try to address from 2 points. One is from the difference in compositional effect, and the other is from the difference in technological effect. So we try to control the household and farm level characteristics basically in order to deal with unobserved heterogeneity and possible indigeneity bias. So I don't want to go to look in detail what factors influence farmers' choice of adoption. The interest is basically we do observe climate and social capital variables also in choice of adoption of climate-smart agricultural practice. Our interest is basically to look on the adoption effect of combination of different practice on household nutrition, basically on gender-differentiated household nutrition. So the top three from A to C compares the national outcome of adopting combination of two practices against one, and the bottom three from DTF compares the national outcome of adopting three practices against two practices. So as you can see, the result indicates that adoption of more number of combination practice provides higher Simpson index as compared to adoption of practice in isolation or practice adopting fewer number of practices. As you can see from the first three row, while adopting the crop diversification and soil and water conservation provides an effect of 0.075 Simpson index, but this Simpson index rises to 0.166 when households adopted the three combination of practice. This is basically the adoption effect on calorie consumption. Similar to the previous slide, we observe that adoption of more number of practices provide high calorie consumption than adoption of small number of practices. But when you look at the bottom rows from DTF, we couldn't find statistical evidence on the difference between the nutritional outcome of adopting three practices against the partial adoption, or what you call the two practices. The same results already observed in protein consumption. Protein consumption is higher when practices are adopted jointly against when practices are adopted in isolation. The point of interest here is also the gender gap. So we look the gender gap from the difference in household composition, which we call it the composition effect, and the difference in technology adoption, which we call it the gender gap. So from the first combination of from the first three combinations, you can see that if female-headed households have the same response returns as male-headed households, female-headed households' dietary diversity would have increased from 0.629 to 0.685, which is about 9%, or from 0.63 to 0.671 to 671, which is about 5%, and also it might increase from 0.64 to 0.692. On the other hand, if female-headed households had the same returns as male-headed household characteristics, then the food diversity dietary index would have been increased from 0.685 to 0.723. So I will not go in detail to each of the results, but the summary results that we have observed for the primary work is that we found household nutrition outcome differential between female and male-headed households due to composition effect. When you call composition effect, that's a difference in household composition. It might be household characteristics, it might be different to access to resource, it might be different to managerial skills. And the other is the difference in response to those resources, which we call is the technology effect. So in general, the results suggest that elimination of gender differential in access to resource would not lead to equality in nutrition security status unless accompanied by those that improve returns to those resources. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. So maybe we should appreciate our presenters, all of them, one more time. So thanks for sticking to time. I think we have some time for questions, comments, and questions. So please, if you have any comments or questions on the presentations, the floor is open.
Thank you. Mine is for a little clarification. Vincent, you said that the NAADS is a national program and it's for 25 years, or it's been in existence for 25 years. My issue is, how did you identify participants and non-participants if this is a national program? Okay. And Tagel, I saw a table that showed that the lower the number of food groups on average that is consumed, the higher the calorie intake. There was a table that I saw food groups, and I was trying to look at the number of food groups that are consumed and then the amount of calories that it infers. And it looks like I saw the lower it is, the higher the calorie. Maybe you want to throw a little light. Maybe I got confused.
Thank you very much. My name is Jacob. So the several questions. My brother who presented first, I also would love to have an understanding of the intervention, this FISP, because then I had a similar question to the second presenter in terms of how do you choose your control if it is a national program. So thanks to him. So if you could also just clarify how the program is implemented and then explain how you chose your controls, because I think I did not understand fully. And what is in the package? So when we say farmer input support program, what is in the package? The reason I ask is, should I be surprised that it improved crops diversity? You know, but I cannot ask the second question if I don't understand how the program is designed and how it is implemented. Just another question on that. So you measure 3 outcomes. Do you want to think about, you know, the whole discussion of multiple hypothesis testing and how you want to adjust for that? Yeah. And the second presenter, I just wanted to know if I might have missed it, but are you controlling for any confounders, or you have just run the input and output variables? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ellen McCullough from the University of Georgia. I thought all of you did an interesting job of identifying the program effects that you were trying to measure. What I was curious about was mechanisms, because some of these effects didn't seem totally straightforward, that you would link these types of outcomes to these types of programs. So I'd love to hear all of you reflect a little bit on the mechanisms for how you think these effects were achieved.
I think I captured two questions here from our colleague. The first was the intervention and how the control was selected. And I think on the intervention, I'll answer it with the second question, which is what is the package? Because the intervention is a package, actually. The fertilizer input support program involves giving farmers about 200 kgs of fertilizer. And initially, they were also, they used to be given about 10 kgs of improved maize seed. But now, since 2010, 2011, some crops have been added to the package. Wheat, sorghum, rice, I think. Those are the two I can remember. So that's the package. Now, how was the control chosen? The data we used is the national representative data. We didn't deliberately choose a control. This is the data which was randomly corrected. But then to estimate the treatment effects, what we did was to create counterfactuals from the non-beneficiaries. And we did this